we'll go over using the panel saw. This will be the easiest tool for you to cut your plywood to rough dimensions, but don't use it as a finished cut because it's going to make a really splintery cut. So if you think about Home Depot when you buy plywood and they cut it to size for you, leave at least an extra inch on your dimensions. We're also not going to use the factory edges. When you buy your plywood, you'll see that the factory edges still have a lot of glue and they're not a smooth cut like we'll get on the table saw, so we'll have to go back and cut the edges on the table saw, so allow enough for that. So I'm going to make a mark at 2 feet. It's a little difficult to do measurements on this saw. There's tapes with marks on them here, but I would say they're roughly accurate, but not amazingly accurate. So this is saying a little less than 24, and I think I'm going to come up a little above 24. So the panel saw is not hooked up to the dust collector, so you don't need to think about that. I would probably wear safety glasses. The blade is spinning like this, so it's sort of pushing the dust toward you. And you'll also get a better cut on the back side than on the front where it's coming up through the veneers. So it just comes on with this paddle. Be sure it gets up to speed. Listen for it to come up to speed. Usually when I finish my cut, I'll turn it off and let it sit at the bottom because I worry if I pull it back up, I'm going to get more chip out by coming back up with it. If you're doing a really small cutoff, you can see it's easy for it to tip in the opening here, so just be sure you're thinking ahead about that. Okay, so now I'm going to set it up for rip, and I'd like to do a rip that's 16 inches wide. So, I mean, it's a little silly to talk rip and cross cut with plywood because there's no real end grain, long grain situation, but usually we're just talking about what the face veneer looks like in terms of a rip and what's the longest dimension. So I can back this off. So this is going to pop in when I get to horizontal, and then I'm going to have to mark this also. So if I want 16 inches, that'd be roughly there. Okay, and I can lock the saw in place with this knob. So this time I'm going to have to push my plywood through the saw and leave the saw sitting stationary. I'm going to get started, and when I get part of the way through, I'm going to tape these little spacers into my cut so that when I finish the cut, the top piece doesn't drop down into the kerf that I've taken out. Or if you get somebody to help you, they could help hang on to that top piece when you make your cut. Okay, so now I should be able to finish pulling it through the, so I'm looking over this way because a lot of times there's stuff in the way here, so usually I start from the side closest to the radial arm saw and come this way, but just be sure you've got room to finish your cut there.